Hi, Session 1, Introduction to Operations Management. These are the learning outcomes of this module. Critically appraise current practices in operations management, evaluating a variety of delivery modes and sales order planning, analyze and appraise best practices of the procurement cycle concepts, evaluate and interpret the nature, scope, and purpose of strategies for efficient logistics and supply chain management. Hi, Session 1, Introduction to Operations Management. You will learn in this session the definition of operations management, why operations management is important for organizations, the changing spectrum of operations management, transformation processes, the characteristics of pure services and pure products, the three levels at which operations can be analyzed, the typology of operations, the 4 V's, and an understanding of what operations strategy is. So what is operations management? How is operations management defined? Operations management is the activity of managing the resources which are devoted to the production and delivery of products and services. Today, 30% of world revenues of 40 largest consultancy firms comes from operations and process management. Operations are everywhere. The best way to start understanding the nature of operations is to look around you. Everything you can see around you has been produced by an operation. Every service you consume today, radio station, bus service, lecture, has also been produced by an operation. Operations managers create everything you buy, sit on, wear, eat, throw at people, and throw away. All types of business have operations because all businesses produce some mix of products and services. The differences in the operations within a specific category of business are often greater than the differences between business sectors. You may find operations management in all types of organizations. Automobile assembly factory, physician, management consultant, disaster relief charity, and so forth. Let us now look at the interfunctional relationships between operations and other functions. When new product and service ideas are generated by the product and service development function, operations function helps organizations understand the capabilities and constraints of the operations process. When market requirements are generated by the marketing function, operations function helps the marketing function understand the capabilities and constraints of the operations process. When the information technology function tells the organization of the provision of systems required for design, planning, and control and improvement, the operations function helps the information technology function understand the infrastructural and system needs. When the human resources function tells the organization the requirement for recruitment, development, and training, the operations function helps the organization understand the human resource needs. When the accounting and finance function tells the organization of the financial analysis requirements for performance and decision making, the operations function helps the accounting and finance function and the organization the requirement to provide the relevant data. When the engineering technical function analyzes new technology options for the organization's internal processes, the operations function provides the understanding of process technology needs to the organization. Operations management is changing rapidly. The business environment is changing, for example, from increased cost-based competition, high quality expectations, demands for better service, more choice and variety, rapidly developing technologies, frequent new product service introduction, increased ethical sensitivity, environmental impacts, more legal regulations, greater security awareness, to promoting operations responses for globalization of operations networking, information-based technologies, internet-based integration of operations activities, supply chain management, customer relationship management, flexible working patterns requirements, requirement for mass customization, faster time to market methods, lean process designs, environmentally sensitive designs, supply partnership and development requirements, failure analysis, and business recovery planning. Operations and process management requires analysis at 3 levels. The first level is the supply network level. A supply network is an arrangement of operations. At this level, the organization is required to understand the relationship between operations. For strategic analysis, an understanding of the relationship between operations is required. The second level is the analysis of the flow between processes. Each operation would have multiple processes. An operation is an arrangement of processes. So at this level, organizations need to know the role of each process in the operation and the relationship between them. The third level is the level of processes. Each process would have its own resources. Organizations need to know the role of each unit of resource in the process and the relationship between them. Understanding the relationship between resources is required for effective operational analysis. Operations management also looks at 2 kinds of resources. 1, transforming resources. 2, transformed resources. Transforming resources are resources that does the transformation of the input resources. Example, transforming resources are facility staff who takes input resources and transforms them into the required outputs and services. These resources are materials, information, and customers. All operations and processes are input, transformation, output systems that use transforming resources to work on transformed resources in order to produce products and services that add value for our customers. So what are the examples of transformations? You've got physical transformations, which is manufacturing, locational transformation, which is transportation, exchange transformations, which is retailing, storage transformations, which is warehousing, physiological transformation, which is healthcare, and informational transformation, which is telecommunications. So this slide gives you some examples of the input-output transformations. You see here the hospital, which is the system, inputs, patients, resources, nurses, doctors, medical supplies, equipment. The kind of transformation that happens, which is healthcare, physiological, and the output, healthy individuals. Relatively few operations produce either purely products or purely services. Most types of operation produce a mixture of goods and services. So what are pure products? Pure products are outputs that are exclusively tangible, like crude oil production, and pure services are outputs that are exclusively intangible, like psychotherapy clinic. All other products and services falls between these two extremes. Now let us look at an example of an analysis at 3 levels of a television and video company. The supply network level, which shows the flows between operations, is shown in this figure. Let's select one operation in this organization, program and video maker. If you explode this operation into its processes, we would have marketing and sales, engineering, finance and accounting, set and props manufacture, production unit, and post-production. Now let's select one of the processes and explode it to view the resources that have been used. Let's take the set and props manufacture. The resources are set design, set construction, props acquisition, and set finishing. So all functions use processes to provide services. Operations, marketing, human resources, finance, sales, information systems. Differences within sectors are often greater than the differences between sectors. For example, in financial services, the difference between an account management center at a large retail bank and a financial analyst advising a client at an investment bank are often greater. But if you really look at an account management center at a large retail bank and mass production of kitchen units, they're not that different when it comes to the scope. What are the typology of operations? The 4 V's. 4 V's stands for volume, variety, variation in demand, and visibility. What is important to understand is that products or services that are of high volume will not have an equally high variety. And if a product is of high volume, the variation in demand would generally be low. The time lag between production and consumption of such a product would be very small, and most of these products would be in inventory. So the requirement for visibility would not be that great. So what are the implications of the 4 V's? If the volume is high, the product would have high repeatability, specialization, systemization, capital intensive, and low unit costs. If the product is of high variety, then it will be well defined, routine, standardized, regular, and low unit cost. If the variation demand is low, the product would be stable, routine, predictable. It'll have high utilization and low unit costs. Likewise, if the product has low visibility, the time lag between production and consumption would be low. It would be standardized. No need to have high contact skills for people who are servicing this product. There'll be high staff utilization, and this will be produced in a centralized facility, and it will also have low unit costs. Likewise, if the volume of a product is low, it will have low repetition. Each staff member will perform more of a job, less systemization, but high unit cost. If the variety is high, the tasks will be flexible, complex, need to match customer needs, and it will have high unit cost. If the variation in demand is high, change in capacity, anticipation, flexibility, need to be in touch with demand, and it will also have a high unit cost. If the visibility requirement is high, there will be short waiting tolerance. Satisfaction will be governed by customer perception. Customer contact skills will be required for people who are servicing this product. And receipt variety will be high and high unit cost. It is important for organizations to map their product and services on the 4 V's profile. It is important to understand how different operations can be positioned on the 4 V's. Organizations then need to question whether their position where they want to be are correct. They also need to understand the strategic implications. This is an example of 5 products and services that have been mapped on the 4 V's. Organizations need to focus on 5 operations performance objectives. These are quality, speed, dependability, flexibility, and cost. So what is quality? You would want to do things right, that is, you would not want to make mistakes and would want to satisfy your customers by providing error-free goods and services which are fit for their purpose. This is giving a quality advantage. Speed. You would want to do things fast, minimizing the time between a customer asking for goods or services and the customer receiving them in full, thus increasing the availability of your goods and services and giving a speed advantage. Dependability. You would want to do things on time so as to keep the delivery promises you have made. If the operation can do this, it is giving dependability advantage. Flexibility. You would want to be able to change what you do. That is, being able to vary or adapt the operations activities to cope with unexpected circumstances or to give customers individual treatment. Being able to change far enough and fast enough to meet customer requirements gives a flexibility advantage. Cost. You would want to do things cheaply, that is, produce goods and services at a cost which enables them to be priced appropriately for the market while still allowing for a return to the organization. Or, in a not-for-profit organization, give good value to the taxpayers or whoever is funding the operation. When the organization is managing to do this, it is giving a cost advantage. So this slide gives a snapshot view of what quality could mean to different operations and different organizations. Quality is consistent conformance to customers' expectations. Quality is the most visible part of what an operation does. It is something that a customer finds relatively easy to judge about the operation. It is clearly a major influence on customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction. A customer perception of high quality products and services means customer satisfaction, and therefore the likelihood that the customer will return. Quality inside the operation reduces costs. The fewer mistakes made by each process in the operation, the less time will it needed to correct the mistakes, and the less confusion and irritation will be spread. Quality increases dependability. Increased costs are not the only consequence of poor quality. At the supermarket, it could also mean that goods run out on the supermarket shelves with a resulting loss of revenue to the operation and irritation to the external customers. This is what speed could mean to different organizations. The speed objective inside the operation is also very important. Fast response to external customers is greatly helped in decision making and speedy movement of materials and information inside the operation. Speed inside the operation would mean it reduces inventories, it reduces risks. Forecasting tomorrow's event is far less of a risk than forecasting next year's. The further ahead companies forecast, the more likely they are to get it wrong. The faster the throughput time of a process, the later forecasting can be left. Dependability. This slide gives a comparison of what dependability could mean in different organizations. Flexibility. This slide shows what flexibility means in different operations and different organizations. So, flexibility objective. Let's look at product service flexibility, the operation's ability to introduce new or modified products and services quickly. Mixed flexibility would mean the operation's ability to produce a wide range of mix of products and services. Volume flexibility would mean the operation's ability to change its level of output or activity to produce different quantities or volumes of products and services over time. Then you've got the delivery flexibility, being the operation's ability to change the timing of the delivery of its services or products. So what is meant by flexibility inside the operation? Flexibility inside the operation speeds up response, it saves time, it maintains dependability. Cost. The cost objective and the comparison of this objective in different organizations and operations. Improving productivity. Improving productivity reduces cost of its inputs while maintaining the level of its output. Reducing the costs of some or all of its transformed and transforming resource inputs. Cutting out waste. All contributes towards an optimization and reduction of costs. We can also think about cost reduction through internal effectiveness. High quality operations do not waste time or effort having to redo things, nor are their internal customers inconvenienced by flawed service. Fast operations reduce the level of in-process inventory between and within processes, as well as reducing administrative overheads. Dependable operations do not spring any unwelcome surprises on their internal customers. They can be relied on to deliver exactly as planned. This eliminates wasteful disruption and allows the other micro operations to operate efficiently. Flexible operations adapt to changing circumstances quickly and without disrupting the rest of the operation. Flexible micro operations can also change over between tasks quickly and without wasting time and capacity. So what are the competitive factors that influence on performance objectives? The first are order winning factors. These directly and significantly contribute to winning businesses. Key reasons for customers to purchase the product or services. Second is the qualifying factors. Operations performance has to be above a particular level just to be considered by customers. And of course, there are less important factors, maybe of importance in other parts of the operations activities. Operations and strategy. Strategy is a business organization, is essentially about how the organization seeks to survive and prosper within its environment over the long term. The decisions and actions taken within its operations have a direct impact on the basis on which an organization is able to do this. The way in which an organization secures, deploys and utilizes its resources will determine the extent to which it can successfully pursue specific performance objectives. When we talk about operations strategy, we need to focus on Hayes and Wheelwright's four-stage model of the strategic role of operations. There are four stages that needs to be considered. First, operations function is internally focused and reactive. That's the stage one. It becomes internally neutral. So operations are viewed as a necessary evil. The best that the organization hopes for is that operations don't screw up. Stage two, externally neutral. The operations function tries to be as good as the competition or to achieve parity with industry norms. Such an organization is likely to benchmark its operations against its competitors and adopt best practice in its industry so that it does not hold the organization back. Stage 3, internal supportive. The operations function seeks to provide credible support for the organization's business strategy. An operations strategy will be developed which will be derived from and support the business strategy. There's alignment between the operations strategy and the business strategy. The organization's operations are likely to be amongst the best in its industry. Then the fourth stage, it's called externally supportive. Here the operations function provides the basis of competitive advantage for the organization by setting the standard in their industry. So the organization becomes a market leader where other organizations can benchmark their operations too. The operations function is likely to aim to be world-class by seeking to emulate best practice wherever it is to be found. Operations will be seen as the means of exceeding customer expectations by delighting the customer. Operations will be managed proactively to drive the business strategy of the organization. There are four perspectives on operations strategy: top-down, bottom-up, market-led, and operations-led. So let's find out what top-down perspective is. The top-down perspective is one in which the operations strategy is derived from and is supportive of the organization's business strategy. An operations strategy that the organization uses to realize its business strategy. The bottom-up perspective is one which sees operations strategy emerging through a series of actions and decisions taken over time within operations. The market-led perspective is one in which the operations strategy is developed in response to the market environment in which the organization operates. There are, however, a number of approaches in the operations strategy literature that suggest how this might be done. The operations-led perspective is one in which its excellence in operations is used to drive the organization's strategy. This is in line with the Hayes and Wheelwright Stage 4 organization and fits with the resource-based view of strategy that currently dominates the strategic management literature. So, operations management scholars generally agree that the major strategic decision areas in operations can be conveniently divided into 10 categories under 2 broad headings. The first, structure. The second, infrastructure. Structure is all about the physical attributes of operations, while infrastructure is all about people and systems of operations. Thank you.